Well, with all of the climate conversations underway at COP28 and the developments around our electricity, there are actually many different factors underway at the moment. In Dubai, people are talking about giving up fossil fuels. The Energy Minister, Gwede Mantashe, is about to announce another procurement round, 3 more procurement rounds for companies to provide electricity to the national grid. In the middle of all of this, the CEO of the Energy Council of South Africa, James Mackay, has suggested that actually this could be a very important moment in our energy transition. He joins us now. James, good afternoon to you. You say this is an important moment. Why do you believe that?
Good afternoon, Stephen. Fantastic to be with you again, and your listeners. Yes, it is very exciting times in the energy space. I think not only South Africa but also globally. Really, because this is going to be the biggest capital investment program that we've ever undertaken and ever will undertaken as a country. And so, when you have to spend, in rough numbers, 1.3 trillion ideally by 2030, another 2 trillion by 2040, another 2 trillion by 2050. That is the ideal of pace of spend around the energy transition. And importantly, that spend is to improve the service delivery around changing not only for consumers, but our energy system also suitable for an environment which is decarbonized. And we must do that. So that is an opportunity. If we can do that spend efficiently, effectively, we can create jobs, we can create local content, we can create industrialization. And some countries in the world actually are getting it right and doing it well. We've got a lot of hard work ahead of us to be able to make sure we can follow that.
Where would we need to start? So what change? I mean, I realize there's obviously quite a lot of change coming in some ways. We see a lot more wind energy than we've ever had. You see solar panels literally everywhere, although a lot of that's not on the grid. It's sort of for self-use by companies and homes. What's the first sort of most urgent priority?
So I think there are two things that we've got to keep in mind in this conversation, and generally this is the same internationally. Decarbonization is a given. As a country, South Africa, we've committed to the Paris Agreement. We have pending climate legislation around net zero. So the target of net zero is a given. We have to get there. We must get there. I don't think that's debated, not even in any of the government circles. What is debated is the challenge and the challenges of getting there over what time period. How do we make those decisions? How do we transition? On the other hand, what most countries, and certainly, I mean, I've just been in Europe this last week at Enlit Europe. So Europe is struggling with exactly the same challenges around energy transition. They actually have 3,000 gigawatts queuing for grid connection, and they need to rapidly expand their grid. And that's a similar challenge that South Africa has. We have an added complexity and challenge, is that we've lost energy security, and that's over years of neglect of our state-owned entities, and specifically Eskom. So we need to rebuild capacity and capability. We need to kind of rebuild the maintenance discipline, and that's going to take time. It's going to take effort. And what that does as well is that means that we've got more coal-fired power stations for longer, but we need that in order to end load shedding. So our biggest priority must be end load shedding. And to do that, we need a combination of, we have to fix Eskom and fix our power stations within Eskom. But in parallel, we need to do everything else that everyone else is challenging with and that we are doing, which is add lots and lots of renewables as quickly as we can.
So, James, I mean, it seems to me that all we're really doing around electricity is talking about it and fighting about it. And I realize that I'm oversimplifying it. But, for example, there's huge contestation of what kind of electricity we should have. People are fighting about car power ships. People are fighting around what energy mix the energy minister wants. We still don't, and I'm afraid to say, I think this is important, we still don't have a new group CEO at Eskom, for example. It's been reported, I think it was News 24 and others, that, each of the 3 ministers involved wants a different person at one point. I don't think that's still the case. I think it's changed. The point I'm trying to make is, are we actually battling, perhaps more than some other countries, to make these decisions and then stick to them?
Absolutely, Stephen. I think you've hit the nail on the head. A real takeaway from me, engaging with Europe is that they have similar challenges to us. As I said, their top challenges are grid capacity, regulatory environment, workforce, and supply chains. Those are things that we're grappling with as well. The difference is that the challenges that they have there are opportunities for investment, for industrialization, for technology. We are, I think, underestimate the amount of societal distrust and anxiety that we still carry as South Africans around sort of failed institutions and service delivery. And so there's very little trust that anyone is doing the right thing. Now, I can tell you, because I've been there, at the power stations, talking to people within Eskom at all levels, is I think that Eskom are doing a remarkable job of turning around a very difficult situation at a people level, at a technical level, at an investment level, procurement level. They really are doing some amazing work. But there's very little trust in the system that is actually happening. And also, you can't recover 8 years of neglect in 6 months. So we also do need time. But just to give you a sense, Eskom are focusing on technical interventions and investments that should recover, well, it's targeting 8.4 gigawatts of power over the next 18 months, roughly. Now, not all of that is going to work perfectly. It's not all going to be on schedule. But that focus is there, and those are the targets that they're working towards. On the renewable side, private sector, so from 23 to 24, we will more than double our amount of renewable energy that's connected to the grid. And I think that from an Energy Council perspective, we'll see about 800 to 900 megawatts of rooftop connection next year, and probably about 1.4 gigs of utility scale connection next year. And we're going to double that again in 2025. So we will see over the next 2 years, the amount of generation which is being built on the ground, connected to the grid, is enough to actually solve our energy deficit. That doesn't necessarily mean we solve the energy crisis, because we still need a lot of reform, a lot of hard work, and we haven't addressed all of the reliability and confidence and the governance and the skills and the leadership issues that we still need to sort out. But I think we're heading in the right direction, Stephen.
James, thank you. James Mackay is the CEO of the Energy Council of South Africa. Do appreciate the time.